What up, YouTube Lakes? Coming back at you with another StarCraft 2 cast. On the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have our red Terran player SageFreke. And on the top right-hand side of the map, we have our blue Protoss player SonofHarstem. I did not know Harstem had a son, but if he does, I expect nothing but greatness from this player. This is a Platinum versus Platinum level match, so SonofHarstem has a little ways to go before matching the footsteps of his father, so this will be a very fun game to watch indeed. SonofHarstem, let's see what he's got for us today. It does look like this is going to be a gateway opener from our blue Protoss player here. Probe running down to the Terran side of the map just to see if he can get a scout in here before the wall finishes. It does look like this is going to be a barracks opener as well for SageFreke. No cheesiness so far from either player. Does look like it is shaping up to be a relatively standard match. It's a little too early to say, but we do not have any cheese or proxy bases on the horizon just yet. Cheese is not totally ruled out. We're only a minute into this game here. Single gas opener for our red Terran player here. This could be a possible Reaper opening into some Reaper harassment. We will see shortly. This probe did make it into the base. This wall does not look like it will get closed off in time. SonofHarstem will be able to escape with this probe here if he so chooses. Missing some micro there on the probe. SonofHarstem has a big name to live up to if he wants to claim Harstem as his father. Command center being thrown down. I do like the carpets here on this map. It creates a nice little area for you to put your command center and nexus. Very, very aesthetic right there. You know, you gotta make sure that your command center is nice and comfortable. Raised up off the metal, sitting on a nice soft carpet instead. Nexus coming down for SonofHarstem as well. SageFreke will get a scout of his own into the main base of Harstem's son here. Double gas opener, and we do have a stalker coming out, so there will be no adepts coming out from this Protoss player, which I do agree with, just because adepts would have trouble getting through that wall. They can shade through units, but they cannot shade through buildings. We do have a factory on the way for the red Protoss player, and it looks to be a reactor coming out of this barracks here. So we can expect to see what I think is going to be Marines pumping out of this barracks here. This macro should be pretty strong for the early game. We also have a tech lab coming down for this factory along with the starport. So far, SageFreke seems to be setting himself up for some macro game and some tech behind it. I expect we'll see a good amount of medevacs here supporting what I think is going to be double Marines pumping out of this barracks here. This may turn into a sort of timing push. We do have Widow Mines as well. We may see some Widow Mine drops behind whatever bio play SageFreke is going to show. SonofHarstem getting in some units here. Warp gate research halfway done. Observer will be very useful in handling any potential Widow Mine drops, and also going to get the scout. Will possibly be able to spot this before we get a Widow Mine drop, and it is not going to be a Widow Mine drop. In fact, we're getting Vikings coming out of this starport instead. That is an interesting choice, especially if you're double pumping Marines. I would expect medevacs would be the priority here, but instead it is a single Viking, possibly trying to blind counter some potential Oracle play, but there are no Oracles coming out from this Protoss player. We do have a Robotics Bay instead. In fact, the Robotics Bay, if this is used to get Colossi, will be pretty good in handling these Marines. But if SageFreke keeps going for the Vikings, they will be able to snipe those Colossi. So right now, it's still anybody's game. So far, we just see what is going to be a macro game from both players. So generally speaking, a relatively standard matchup indeed. We do have adepts coming out from these gateways. Warp gate is finished, so these will turn into warp gates as soon as these adepts are done. Good placement of this observer. Will be spotting any potential drops coming from the Terran player here. SonofHarstem doing a good job at keeping eyes around his base, keeping the adepts more or less scattered throughout his main base. So we shall see. We shall see what these players decide to do. Indeed, this is again a platinum level game, so we will not see any crazy high level play. But if SonofHarstem is anything like his father, we will see some crazy micro here. I expect great things from you, SonofHarstem. I do like this old school zealot skin. I might get that for my own games here. Dang, forgot how cool they look. It does look like there was a snipe of one of the observers. We have another observer here just to keep an eye out on the middle of the map. Make sure that it can spot any sort of movement out from the enemy Terran player here. Third base is up for our Protoss player, and it is 61 workers to 49 workers. Mules will help with income, but right now, it does seem to be in favor of the Protoss player until that Terran player gets a third base of his own. And we do have the command center here, which is just about halfway done. But I'm sure SageFreke is very scared. He's playing relatively defensively. I would like to see these tanks sieged up in preparation for a potential push by the Protoss player. I do understand, though, SageFreke, you're going against the SonofHarstem here, and that is not a title to take lightly. The observer will be able to spot this move out by the Terran player, and it is what is going to be 68 army supply versus 35. We do have the Colossus, which might be able to take out a chunk of that army supply. Right now, it is starting to blow up just a little bit for the Protoss player. He's up to 50 army supply now, but ultimately still pretty low. May be able to snipe this Viking, though, which would be pretty big in keeping this Colossus alive here. On the production tab, we do see a Colossus that is almost done. Adding a second Colossus will add to the DPS of this Protoss army significantly, especially if SageFreke gives him time to build up his army in preparation for this push. He's already getting closer to matching the army supply. He is at 71 army supply compared to Terran's 85. Now he's only about 10 army supply down, able to macro up just in time. Charge is done. These tanks will siege up, but these zealots may be able to snipe them. The Colossi doing great work on the back of this, able to destroy all those Marines. Suddenly we have 50 army supply to 65 army supply. Could be worse. Taking a look at the units lost tab, it is in favor of the Protoss by about 1,500 resources, but this does give SonofHarstem the opening for the counter here. Was able to take out the majority of the Terran army, able to just roll through to the third base of the Terran. SageFreke throwing out the GG, SonofHarstem returning the GG, but no player leaving just yet. Seems to have been a slightly premature GG. At the same time, going against the SonofHarstem, you might just take a look at this army and be like, nah, that's GG. I can't beat that. This is Harstem's son right here that we're talking about. This tank sieged up in position to protect this wall here. These SCVs prepared to repair, but I think SonofHarstem could honestly just push or at least poke some of these SCVs, prevent them from repairing. ultimately this tank will be able to take out a lot of the zealots that would try to soften up this wall here. I think he could honestly just leave the Colossi to attack some of this, at least put some pressure on, and then leave the army in the back to defend against the Vikings. But ultimately, it does look like SonofHarstem is going back home to macro up just a little bit more. Taking a look at the production tab here, 1-1 is on the way with 4 more gateways. Army supply slightly in favor of the Protoss player. 68 army supply. Oh, sorry, 100 army supply to 97. I think I misspoke earlier. I was looking at worker supply rather than army supply. But we do have a significant amount of Archons on the way. These will be icing on the cake. I don't think SonofHarstem necessarily needs the Archons at this point in the game to deal with the Bio Ball. They will be able to do splash damage on the Vikings if they so choose. We have a lot of workers here. It looks like they were probably rallied to the 3rd base location, but the wall was not lowered, and they ended up hanging out on the ledge here. Easy mistake to make if you're not paying attention to your wall as a Terran player here. These zealots will clean up these rocks. This will give them free reign over this 3rd base. I would like to see some tanks hanging out on the ramp here, on the ledge here to protect that 3rd base. This command center, interesting choice to build the command center. Keep in mind they can fly. I would have built that command center, that 4th command center, in the main base and then landed it in the 4th base location. These tanks unfortunately caught out of position. SonofHarstem will be able to take them out. The Vikings able to take out a couple of those Colossi. One Colossus does survive with 14 kills. It looks like it may get sniped here. These Archons desperately trying to save it. This forces SonofHarstem to pull back. This tank only getting 3 kills, but doing a good job at deterring SonofHarstem's army here. We do have a Zealot. Good job at checking out the 4th base location, and we do have this command center here deciding to take a more or less hidden 3rd base location just because that was the 2nd time SageFreke lost it to the SonofHarstem here. Big warp and good use of this warp prism, able to reinforce this army relatively quickly here, and we do have what looks to be the 4th base being set up for Protoss player. Unfortunately, it looks like that gateway was blocking one of the gases. Harstem going in for the kill, breaking through this wall, will potentially snipe this tank. This tank still only getting 4 kills, but getting a lot of shots in. This tank not sieging up at all, will go down to the Archons and Zealots. SageFreke throwing out another GG, a real one this time, leaving the game, giving the victory to the SonofHarstem. So it does look like SonofHarstem living up to the name of his father, more or less. I'm sure Harstem would have a lot to say about some of how this game went, but ultimately what works, works. And SonofHarstem doing a great job at not overextending himself and making sure his army was prepared to deal with breaking through the turtle of the Terran. Siege tanks really frustrating to deal with when they're behind a wall here. You have to make sure that you have enough units to break through and have some more units left over to snipe that tank. So ultimately, very good game. I've never seen a game with Harstem's son before. So if you enjoyed what you saw, please consider shooting me a like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want me to cast some of your own games, I will have my email in the description below. I'll see you on the next one.